Where is my mind? Hello everyone, Ryan here, and the Classics Week is continuing. This time I am going to be talking about my favourite Pixies album, and probably their most celebrated album as well, Doolittle. The Pixies are an incredibly influential band, and to this day they're still inspiring rock bands. But they were most notable for inspiring rock bands back in the 90s, and a lot of bands that came through in their early days always cited Pixies as one of their biggest influences. Nirvana were a band that always said that Pixies massively influenced their sound. Of course, Weezer, you can totally tell that Weezer had a big influence taken from Pixies. The Strokes, Pavement, Arcade Fire, the list just goes on. I mean, they've influenced some of the biggest bands of today, and their legacy will remain forever. And it's the eccentric vocals and the jarring pop sensibilities that were part of Pixies' sound that became so influential. And it started on their first album, Surfer Rosa, but I think the place to start with the Pixies is in fact Doolittle. You cannot go wrong with this album at all. I think this album is comprised of some of the greatest songs of all time, including the track Debaser, which has this instantly memorable riff, and it's just got these whacked out, crazy, insane vocals that you'll just never forget on this album. And I think that the Pixies were always kind of insane in so many ways, especially with the way Black Francis says some of the lyrics on this song and the way he belts out Debaser. It's just kind of like the cracks in his voice just sound like he's ready to just be taken into a mental health institution. But I think on this album they weren't as insane as that first album. I think this album had some of more of the sillier moments that the Pixies were really good at doing as well, without it sounding too stupid or too cringy, like some of the songs on here, such as La La Love You and Monkey Gone to Heaven. I think Tame as well. These are kind of like weird just fluctuations of the band, and it always worked so well because of the instrumentation was just so raw and so in the moment that you could kind of focus more on the music as well as the vocals. But the Pixies were really good at making just incredibly memorable hooks. I mean, like the song Crackety Jones, which way just basically repeats Crackety Jones like over and over. It's like it just gets stuck in your head really well, and I think that's what this album does for me. It's just all just there immediately, and I don't really have to re-listen over and over again for it to grow. It just always instantly clicked, and I can put it on at any time and it will just still have that same feeling for me. I think lyrically that this album is rather surreal. I mean, I still wonder to this day what some of the song topics are actually about, but I think that's what gives me that intrigue, because I still like to go back and listen to this album, see if I can kind of get a grip on some of these song ideas and some of the rather strange lyricism across the whole thing. But apart from that, you don't really have to focus too much on the lyrics anyway. I think it's the music that mostly grabs me on this album, because it's very catchy, it's very accessible, but it's also made incredibly well. I think that's why so many rock bands aspire to be like Pixies, because they want that weird edge but also want to be able to make that catchy music, and not many bands were able to repeat this. Another thing I love about this album are Kim Deal's excellent backing vocals. She adds such great dynamics to all of these songs on the whole album. I love her vocal inclusion on Here Comes Your Man, which is one of my favourite songs ever by the Pixies. It's quite a straightforward pop song, but I just absolutely love this song. I love the way the bass bounces across the whole song. Like, I think it's really fantastic, and I think she was a very great member of the Pixies. It's a shame that things went wrong there and she ended up leaving for whatever reason it was, but she was certainly an important part of the Pixies. I think it's fair to say that the Pixies are one of the most influential alternative rock bands of all time, and during a time as well when hair metal was a big thing, this really was a huge change of pace in that sense, and this was really what music was about and what was the real thing that would change the course of the 90s and influence some of the biggest bands of that era. And I think it's easy to see why, because this album is so lovable. I think I'll always regard it as one of my favourites of all time. And if you've never heard this, then you really need to check this out. It's just absolutely fantastic. It's eccentric, it's a little weird, but it's all great at the same time. And yeah, if you like this review, make sure you give it a like. Also subscribe for more reviews, and have a good day.